Hello everyone, welcome to another session on Literary Theory Module 1, 5th semester, a paper for BA English Literature of Calicut University. This is my second session on Module 1, and if you haven't watched my first session, please do watch that and come back here. In this session, I'll be discussing about the 10 tenets of liberal humanism, and I have already done a video in this regard. I will put the link of my previous video on liberal humanism in the description box. If you haven't watched that, you can watch it there. Now we will get into the session, and in this session I'll be discussing about the 10 tenets of liberal humanism. Peter Barry in his book Beginning Theory discusses about the 10 tenets of liberal humanism. Okay, so Peter Barry in fact lists the 10 tenets of liberal humanism, and it can be summarized as the following. First one, liberal humanism holds that good literature is of timeless significance. Okay, so that is a point that we have to remember, timeless significance, and transcends the limitations and peculiarities of the age it was written. Okay, all the limitations and peculiarities of the age will usually be transcended in a good literature. Okay, so second one, literary text has its own absolute meaning. Text has its own absolute meaning and defies all socio-political, historical and autobiographical contextualization. Okay, then third point, to understand the text, it should be studied in isolation. So text should be studied in isolation, detached from its above said context, the socio-political, historical, autobiographical, all detached from all these. It should be detached from all these contexts. Then fourth one, human nature is essentially permanent and unchanging. Human nature is permanent and unchanging, so you need not worry about the literature and its relevance and all those things. So hence good literature should reflect this eternal nature only. Then fifth one, individual or subject in literature cannot be portrayed as undergoing change, because the true essence of the true human essence is unchangeable and transcends all influences. So you cannot go for all these the changes within an individual and things like that. Okay, now next one, form and content are indivisible organic parts of the work of literature. You cannot divide it. Okay, and it's like organic parts. Now next one, the purpose of literature should be the reflection of human values, but should not be propagandist. It should be a reflection of human values, and it should not be like propagandist. So all these ideologies that we are talking about, it should not be there in good literature according to liberal humanists. Then the sincerity of the author or the work in furthering human values should not be explicit. Okay, it should not be explicit. It should be inherent and latent in the language of the work. Okay, inherent and latent in the language of the work, and should not be explicit. The ideas are to be silently demonstrated in a work of literature, okay, or enacted in a work rather than explicitly expressed or stated. This is a continuation of the previous tenet. And lastly, the function of criticism is to interpret the text, to mediate between the reader and the text. That is the function of criticism. Okay, so you can see that literary theorists condemn liberal humanism as the ideology of the bourgeois class, which helps instilling a false sense of social harmony, class cooperation and nationalism, and thus protecting the interests of the ruling class. Theorists, they condemn liberal humanism. These are the 10 tenets of liberal humanism, and from this you can see that the later theorists, they condemn liberal humanism as an ideology of the bourgeois class. The very fact that English was taught to the working class and women and not in Oxford and Cambridge shows how it was used as a softening and harmonizing tool. So for them, first one, those people who condemn liberal humanism, first point, it is usually liberal humanism is an ideology of the bourgeois class. Second one, it is usually used as a softening and harmonizing tool. Okay, and Terry Eagleton exposes liberal humanist ideology as literature should convey timeless truths, thus distracting the masses from their immediate commitments, nurturing in them a spirit of tolerance and generosity, and so ensuring the survival of private property. Okay, the struggles of these people, they are not getting represented when you go after all these themes of timeless significance. That is the idea that is in fact discussed by Terry Eagleton. Then next one, liberal humanism is also criticized for its Eurocentrism. Okay, so apart from the ideology of bourgeois class, like softening and harmonizing tool, you can say that it was even criticized for its Eurocentrism. For its its human values are Western values, and progress is the progress of the Western Europe. They are not bothered about what's happening around the world. Then new criticism in its advocacy of textual approach can also be called as the last post of liberal humanist way in English literary tradition. So in a way we can say that new criticism is an extension of liberal humanism. Liberal humanist school cannot be considered obsolete, another point that we can remember, as many people share its tenets without admitting to it. Okay, one example is of course new criticism. So that is about the 10 tenets of liberal humanism and the attitude of other theorists towards liberal humanism. And in the next session we'll discuss about in detail about the history of liberal humanist approach. Take care.